Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get things going for you real quick. My name is Jeff Chittister. I'm a host of New Hampshire Today, the weekend edition on WGIR AM 610 and 96.7 The Wave out on the Seacoast. I also have a weekly article. It appears on Seacoast Online, Portsmouth Herald, Union Leader, Foster's, and in syndication when people decide to pick it up. Real quickly, I do want to go over a few things before we get going. First thing, of course, we want to thank the sponsors of this fine event, the American Principles Project, Cornerstone, and Family Leader. Please give them a big round of applause for putting this together. I also like to remind you that this is being live streamed, and also another reminder that this is a policy conference. So what we would ask is that you be polite to all the guests who come here. I know that some of you may have affiliations already with some candidates or some policy points, but we would like to remind you that there is no heckling or loud outburst. And should that happen, you will be asked to leave the event. So be very careful about that as well. If time permits, we will have questions and answers, and we made it really easy for you. If you notice on your tables, you will see handy-dandy index cards. You see them? Go ahead, hold them up. Great. We always love visuals. And pens. So as you get close to the actual presenters at that time, if you have a question for them, you can write it down. If we do have an opportunity for questions and answers, we will go ahead and ask you to hold those cards up, and we will collect those to answer as we do. What we'd like to do right now is, if I could please, if all the veterans and current active duty military, would you please stand for us? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And if you could remain standing, we're going to ask these fine ladies and gentlemen to also ask all of you to stand as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you very much. You can take your seats. That sounded good. The military guys went right down. So we have got an absolutely fantastic day planned for you today, and only in New Hampshire. Isn't it great to be a New Hampshireite or a Granite Stater? Now, just to make sure, I want to know what we have for a crowd here. How many people are from New Hampshire? Raise your hand. There we go. Thank you very much. How many people are from Massachusetts? Remember, no heckling or jeering. How about Vermont? You got our Vermonters here? All right, they got lost at the Connecticut River. How about Maine? Oh, there we go. One. And he was, woo! Any other state or country, we'll take that. There we go. Where are you from, sir? Virginia, there we go. We'll see the longest one. So as you can tell from the audience, we are the envy of the country. And we're the envy because of the first in the nation primary state. But it also means that we have a great responsibility here in New Hampshire. And the fact that our fine sponsors have put together this program and an opportunity for you to meet not only presidential candidates, but the best and the brightest in policy is really absolutely fantastic. And only in New Hampshire can we get people on a fine fall Saturday during the Deerfield Fair to come out and hear all these fine speakers. The first speaker I'm going to introduce you to is a great leader. His team is just absolutely fantastic. They really move the issue of policy, especially when you talk about those things that affect the family. Of course, Brian McCormick is the New Hampshire native. He currently serves as the executive director of Cornerstone Action. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for your first speaker, Brian McCormick.
Well, thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate you taking the time. I actually didn't realize it was the weekend of the Deerfield Fair, and that is why my parents won't be here today. But I thank you all for taking the time to do this. And what an opportunity, really, honestly, we have in New Hampshire to come and understand not only policy, but presidential politics. And we have some great speakers today, a few of those candidates you will hear from. And I encourage you to take this time to learn about the federalism issue, learn about why this is important, by and large, our nation, but also in our state. And that's kind of what I'm talking about a little bit right now, until they take me off with a hook. But in New Hampshire, one way that we see this, and you're going to hear more about this throughout the day from Anne Marie, who is our education liaison, and also from Emmett McGroarty, who is going to talk about the larger implications for Common Core. But we see it in a big way here in Common Core. We see how the state leverages federal funds in order to coerce education systems into using the curriculum. And it's a problem, because no longer is it in the hands of the parents or the families to make the decision for your kids. They're saying they know what's best. And you're seeing this in a broad number of areas. You're seeing it whether it comes to education on mathematics or the liberal arts, but then it comes into value. What values are being implemented in your children? And I want to highlight that, because that is a vital, vital role that each and every one of you play, not only in your kids, but in the people around you. And firmly, I believe that if we're going to get our nation back, as we are slipping into decline with the current administration and the choices that have been made, we have to affect value. It's pivotal. It's the only way that we're going to affect sustainable change. Now, you see in the state, in New Hampshire, up in Guilford, where a parent took issue not specifically with the Common Core curriculum, but with a book that was in that curriculum that had very suggestive imagery and very scanty subject matter. He was taken out of a parent-teacher meeting by the police because they didn't believe he had a right to voice his opinion. That's a problem. It was on Fox News. This was last year. This is where the federal government is reaching not just into your schools in terms of educating your children on history and mathematics. They are educating your children on value as well. And I encourage you not only to take a look at what that means by and large for our nation, but for our state, and how we can effectively change the game. How can we affect change on how values are being implemented on our children, on our school systems, and really, really hold to it. Stick to that standard. Now, another place where that federalism is really kind of engaged as far as the state level is in the governor's seat. I've been in this position for 2 years now, almost 2 years, coming up on my anniversary in January. And Sarah would tell you as well. I encourage you to talk to Sarah Koski, who is our political director, who had her first bout with the legislature this year, on how difficult it is to get good policy moved through without a governor. And that is absolutely a federalism issue, because those governors are the conduit through which the federal government communicates with your state. And so when these top-down decisions are made, you need a leader in that position who not only you trust, but who's going to tell you the truth about what's going on. So as you move forward today, really try and soak up the information that's being presented to you, because we have a great opportunity where politics are centerfold, and the centerpiece of New Hampshire's culture. You guys have access to people in a way that most places don't. You know, in Concord, you can walk down the street and you can see the governor walking right down Main Street. In some places, that doesn't happen. And quite frankly, she'll take a meeting with you at times. Well, just don't tell her which political affinity you have, then she might not. But we have an opportunity, and with these campaigns, and you're going to see it, I encourage you, use those note cards. Think of some great questions. Come up with some things that you really want to press these guys on, and how they're going to handle this, how are they going to affect change for states' rights. And as we do that, we can start to generate a conversation. We can start to build a movement that's saying, hey, something is wrong here. Something is not going right. We're seeing it at a very base level with our children, and that's very scary. It's very, very scary, and that's why this is a very important issue. One place that we saw this again in New Hampshire is with the Smarter Balance test. How many of you had encountered that test here? I see some hands. The Smarter Balance test. I got a phone call from a parent in tears saying, I just talked to the superintendent. He said that I can't take my kid out of school. If he does, he's going to fail the class, and that I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't want him to take this test. Now just think for a second. That means that a parent who had clearly has the best interests of their children at heart was told that they cannot make that decision. That fundamentally, they're saying, you don't know enough, you don't have the right values, we know what's best, and we have to stop it from a federal level. It's categorically impossible for a top-down decision maker to know what's best for each and every one of you and your kids at that ground level. And that's what this is all about. That's why we are holding our second Federalism Forum with great attendance, because this matters here. This matters. I encourage you to press the candidates on that, to say, what are you going to do? How are you going to protect us? How are you going to protect state rights? And that goes all the way back to the founding of our nation. Those powers, as even though the current commander-in-chief seems to believe that he's above the Constitution, those powers were put in place to protect us. They weren't put in place to be overlooked. So that is all I have. Thank you again. Welcome. Welcome. We have a great day.
Of course, Brian is so tall, I've got to adjust the microphone again. Where's our timekeeper? Have we placed it where they are? Thank you very much. I just want to make sure I keep an eye on you. It's not that we have all the discipline in the world, but it's nice to have somebody that helps us with that discipline of time. Thank you very much.
Crop TV.